A major conservative pro-Trump media outlet just gave Donald Trump some devastating news in the form of a recent poll, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as I've said before, I want you to consider this. Donald Trump is about to become president. His party controls the House, it controls the Senate. Their allies on the Supreme Court control a supermajority. They have enormous advantages with respect to mainstream and alternate media. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, is an ideological ally. And we see big business leaders like Mark Zuckerberg and Tim Cook and others, Bill Gates, seemingly bending the knee and starting to capitulate for Trump. In a lot of ways, Donald Trump is benefiting from truly sinister and formidable headwinds. And yet, the environment is not totally perfect, and there are some serious vulnerabilities, and we're actually learning about them courtesy of the conservative Wall Street Journal, which is one of the most reputable conservative publications in the world. Whether we like it or not, they're a close ally. I think they're owned by News Corp or owned by a similar conglomerate to Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, owns the Wall Street Journal. They're like a sister publication of Fox News. They are conservative, they are pro-Trump, they want Trump to be successful, and they are highlighting some serious vulnerabilities. Now, their headline gives it a relatively favorable spin. So the headline says, exclusive, voters support many of the goals Donald Trump has set for his second term, according to a new Wall Street Journal poll. They're just not on board with all the ways he wants to accomplish them. And we're actually going to take a look at this because I would argue that headline puts it mildly. The Lincoln Project, which is comprised of never-Trump, anti-Trump Republicans or conservatives, as they put it, his agenda is barely known and already underwater. And they give a couple of screenshots. And again, we'll look into this, specifically the article itself. And actually, let's just go ahead and dive into it. Voters want MAGA light from Trump, Wall Street Journal finds. Survey shows Biden leaves office with record low approval and a badly tarnished party. Voters support many of the goals Donald Trump has set for his second term. They're just not on board with all the ways he wants to accomplish them. That is the central message voters are sending in a new Wall Street Journal poll, which finds that most want a tempered, less assertive set of policies than Trump promised, in his most unbridled moments of his campaign. The appetite is for MAGA light rather than extra strength MAGA. Some 53% want Trump to make significant changes in how the government is run once he's inaugurated Monday. But more than 60% oppose one of his central ideas for doing so, replacing thousands of career civil service workers with people chosen by the president. So let's stop right there. Again, this poll is not total bad news for Trump, but some of it really is devastating. So consider this and consider how the Wall Street Journal is trying to spin it. Well, they're like, listen, you have some goals. I mean, a majority of Americans want you to make changes in how the government is funded, is run. Well, of course they do. People aren't happy with the federal government under Republicans or Democrats. People want change. They believe that the government is not responsive to their needs. It makes sense that a majority of Americans say whoever's in charge makes some damn changes. But it's devastating that even more people oppose one of the major decisions that Trump has promised to make, which is replacing civil servants with cultists loyal to him. I mean, that's devastating. Hey, we want you to make changes. We just don't want you to do the things that you're saying that you want to do. How can that be good news for Trump? Again, it's not like this in every situation as you're going to see, but that's pretty bad news for Trump. More than 60% also oppose eliminating the Department of Education, a marquee Trump proposal for pairing the federal government. So again, think about it. That wasn't just a fringe proposal. He repeatedly said that he would eliminate the federal education department. More than 60% say, hell no, don't do it. And only 18% would supersede congressional powers and give Trump more authority over federal spending as he has proposed. Again, another major promise. He wants to sidestep Congress, the legislature, and take more control, superseding congressional powers and exert more dominance over federal spending. But the very people who want you to rein in federal spending don't trust you to supersede Congress. Only 18%? In some cases, I suppose that's too high. But again, a major promise. Yikes. Similarly, the poll finds that while voters want Trump to build his promised wall along the border with Mexico and address illegal immigration, they also want limits to his plans for sweeping deportations of undocumented immigrants. So I suppose he should be thankful that right now people want the border wall. Okay, that's a victory for you, I suppose, Donald Trump. But they're saying, hey, listen, deporting tens of millions of undocumented immigrants, don't do that. Nearly three-quarters say that only those with criminal records should be removed from the country, and 70% would protect longtime residents from removal if they don't have criminal records. This is not what Stephen Miller, who's the deputy chief of staff in charge of policy in Trump's White House, a major hawk when it comes to the border. And by the way, a white supremacist, a white nationalist, a bigot, an anti-immigration bigot. This is not what Stephen Miller has promised. This is not what Trump has promised through Stephen Miller. 70% oppose it. Trump is planning to scrap a policy that focused arrests on serious criminals and discouraged officials from targeting illegal residents who have no criminal record. So again, that's a policy saying, listen, if you're going to deport people, we need to focus on the serious criminals, not just any random person. Trump is saying, oh, I want to get rid of that policy and just focus on getting rid of everybody. 70% say, no, we don't want that. Republicans remain overwhelmingly supportive of Trump's cabinet nominations and handling of the presidential transition, but voters overall are equivocal. Some 46% approve of his nominations, and 47% commend his performance as president-elect, with essentially equal shares disapproving. So again, even now, he's cracking with even the honeymoon period associated with most presidential candidates. He's at best squeaking a 50-50. And look at this. If you look at the people who strongly disapprove, there are more people who strongly disapprove of Trump than strongly approve. So people who are passionately pro-Trump are outnumbered by the people who are passionately anti-Trump. And same thing with his cabinet nominees. The people who are passionately supportive of Trump's nominees, according to this conservative pro-Trump Wall Street Journal poll, are outnumbered by the people who strongly disapprove of Trump's cabinet nominees. That's staggering. The evenly divided views put Trump in a stronger position than at the start of his first term, when more voters disapproved of his preparations to take office. It suggests, however, that Trump, who has said that voters gave him an unprecedented and powerful mandate to govern, risks overreaching. And again, it goes into President Biden, but we know President Biden's views or support is low. His approval rating is low. I should point out, I'll probably bring up the source here in a second and think about it until just this moment, but Biden is ending his term. As unpopular and controversial as Biden has been because of MAGA Republicans, he's actually leaving office with a higher average approval rating than Donald Trump did in his first term. So as much as people want to hate on Biden, Biden is leaving office overall having been more popular than Donald Trump in his first term. Good kudos to Biden there. Let's talk about this here. Let's see. Okay, right here. Voters in the new survey oppose some of Trump's top proposals or were conditional in their support. Again, devastating. His promise to pardon people convicted in connection with the January 6th insurrection drew opposition from 57% of voters. More than 2/3 oppose using economic coercion or military force to take control of Greenland, while 57% oppose using coercion or force to retake control of the Panama Canal. Trump has said he won't rule out such tactics to accomplish his territorial ambitions. 2/3 oppose making Canada the 51st state, an idea that set off tensions between the two countries. Half say it's a bad idea for Elon Musk to serve as an advisor, while 39% say it's a good idea. So again, think about that. A substantially greater number of people are like, get these unelected MAGA billionaires the hell out of your cabinet and your inner circle. Only 39% say it's a good idea. By a margin of 64% to 31%, voters oppose ending birthright citizenship, the constitutional provision that someone born in the U.S. is a citizen, which Trump has promised to try to eliminate. Again, not once, not occasionally, consistently. Voters place a high priority on protecting funding for education, healthcare, and social safety net programs, a caution for Trump and his advisors, Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are leading an effort to identify large spending cuts. By about 60% to 34%, voters say protecting those programs is more important than cutting taxes or reducing the federal debt. Again, folks, look at this. More people want protection for healthcare, education, and social safety net programs than they do cutting taxes and reducing the debt by a staggering amount. Support is essentially split over another Trump signature plan, placing tariffs on imported goods, with 48% of voters in support and 46 opposed. At the same time, 68% also say tariffs would make products they buy more expensive. And it gives like individual examples of people, like quotes from people as well who are either opposing specific Trump policies or conditional in their support of Trump policies. We don't need to get into that because those are specific anecdotes. But folks, this poll is not good for Trump. There are some moments, right, and some things which are not totally terrible for Trump, but overall, from an outlet that wants Trump to succeed, that shares at least this vision of fiscal conservatism, although I would argue Trump really doesn't embody that, they're saying you either don't have the support or whatever support you have has hella conditions on it, which defy this notion that you have some sort of sweeping mandate. And Trump hasn't even been inaugurated yet. So there's no telling what could happen and, you know, what polls might say next week or whatever. But again, devastating news for a guy who wants to basically remake the world in his image, and he isn't even president yet. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.